Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Lannette West. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. So excited to get to talk to you about your time on a reality TV show. How are you doing today? Where are you from again?
I'm from North Carolina, so I currently live in Cary, which is right outside Raleigh,
Okay.
and I'm an unusual native. I'm very unique here because most of the people are from other parts of the country, but I was born and raised in Western North Carolina.
North Carol Carolina, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And what's like the weather like over there today? Because I'm in Texas right now.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't get quite as hot as it gets where you are. I mean, we can get some pretty steamy days, a lot of humidity. Today, for instance, like the high was only 72. It's kind of rainy and drizzly, but it's a nice time of year. It doesn't get too bad, like 80s, high
Yeah.
70s, low 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. That actually sounds really good compared to like you said here in Texas. But okay, so here on our show we like to just kind of get started. Like we kind of course want to start from the beginning, like how it all became for you because you were an average mom, just living the day to day, doing mom duties, and then all of a sudden you're a reality TV star. So tell us a little bit how that started.
Yeah, it's not, I think, a traditional path, perhaps, but I don't know. Maybe other people get plucked off of Facebook. I don't know. I just got a DM one day. I was checking my message requests, and sometimes I like to go through there and just kind of clear them out.
Right.
And I saw this message from a young lady named Jessica, and she said that she had a project that she was working on and that I might be a good fit for it. What did I think about reality TV? And I was like, again, I thought it was a scam.
Hmm.
So I did entertain her because I didn't want to be rude.
Right.
And she was like, she set up a phone call almost immediately, which kind of caught me off guard because I'm like, wow, these scammers are really sophisticated these days,
Yeah.
right? Because they normally, they want to do everything online so they don't have to divulge their real identity. So anyway, she called me and she was very pleasant, very nice, and we had a great conversation. And she referred me to a casting director at E1 Entertainment out of LA. And I spoke with her, and she was great. I still kind of was waiting for something, like what's your
Yeah.
credit card number, or you got to
What's
pay
the
$500, or right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like when they presented the idea to you, like did they let you know straight away that it was going to be a show called MILF Manor?
No, no.
No.
I did not know that until I was sitting in the hotel in Vancouver the day before filming started.
No way. How do they keep something like that? So did you know like the idea like what the show was going to be about? You just kind of had like this idea.
Right, we were given pretty general parameters that we would be a group of older, women
Mhm.
dating younger men, but also dating age appropriate men, which perceive to be men my age.
Mhm.
And then she said like, and then some guys in the middle too. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So it didn't sound too scandalous, right? And we were told the name of the show was Northern Love.
Hmm.
So we thought being in Canada, Northern Love, that made sense.
Yeah.
And all of our paperwork, our NDAs, our psych evals,
Yeah.
everything said Northern Love. So when they came in to my hotel room and said, "Hey, guess what show you're on?" I was like, "Wait, what? I'm on Northern Love." They're like,
Yeah.
"No, you're on MILF Manor season 2." And I, I'm not a big watcher of reality TV. I had heard of MILF Manor just,
Mhm.
for the simple fact that, the shock value of it, right?
Right.
But I didn't know like the participants or the story or what happened on the show. I just knew that if my son was there, I was not participating.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's
Right.
crazy. But like I'm trying to think too, like how does the production like do that? Like do they do that to everybody? Like they're gonna try and get you in the door and then like, oh, when you really can't say no, like the day before, like this is what we're actually gonna do. Like was there any part of you that like wanted to like get out of that or were you still kind of fully into it?
Well, initially, it shocked me, and in the producer's defense, I don't think that they did it intentionally as a bait and switch.
Hmm.
I think what it was is they were trying to keep the fact that they were doing a second season of MILF Manor top secret. They didn't want anybody to know about it. They didn't want anybody to talk about it. And so that was their way of keeping it under wraps.
Hmm.
And so from that perspective, I get it, right? And to be honest, they might not have gotten the kind of support or, endorsement from participants if they had known,
Right.
just because of the rather scandalous twist on season one.
Yeah.
But to reassure you, that was not the twist on our season. We didn't know what the twist was going to be,
Mhm.
but it was nothing to do with our own children.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So okay, so you get the offer, so you're there and you're filming and like production's going on. So was there anything that like kind of shocked you or like something that you didn't expect about the whole filming process that caught you off guard?
Yeah, just how many people it takes to support it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the production crew it was a lot of people. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. You've got, you had to have the electricians. They came in like 2 weeks before we got to the house on the lake and like emptied it. And then they had to bring in generators to power all the electrical and lighting equipment because each room, like all the light switches were taped off. You didn't use them. The lights were, put up in the center of the rooms, and that was all done, by production. And I mean, it was a pretty impressive overhaul. Like everything they did, and it was done very professionally. Everyone like knew their job, did it well. It was really kind of cool to get a behind the scenes peek like that. Like even just the audio people,
Mm-hmm.
it was like everybody wears little mics that have like the fur on it,
Oh,
and
yes.
those are like hidden down. Or if you didn't have a shirt, like if we were in bathing suits or something, we had the necklaces, and we were warned not to take our audio equipment off because it was very, very expensive and we might damage it.
Mm-hmm.
So every time, before bed and then when we got up in the morning, we would have to wait for audio to come to our room before we could leave our room.
Oh.
So it was kind of neat. It was different.
Yeah, all the people. That's kind of like when I watch like I know if I'm do you watch more reality TV now that you've experienced it? Would be my next question. Not really. I was just gonna say that like yeah, I noticed like because I'm a big fan of like the
Mhm.
Bachelors and Bachelorettes
Oh yeah,
series.
I
So
know. I've seen some of those, and
yeah.
that's the same producers that do The Bachelor and The Bachelorette that did MILF Manor season two.
Oh,
So, because they left our filming and went and did either The Bachelor or The Bachelorette immediately after. So,
interesting.
yeah, so I'm curious about that now because I can see some similarities.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say because like yeah, you don't realize like the amount of people that are probably behind the cameras. You
Mhm.
just see the contestants and just the camera going around. So um
Hmm.
so you've done that. So like what about like how has the publicity been like since like during the show and then after? Like I know you've like you have, new fans. You've even have found a friendship in people like Lil Wayne. Like tell us about that. That's crazy.
It's kind of off the wall, isn't it? Yeah, to be honest, a lot of folks, especially women, there were some men too. Well,
Mhm.
usually when the men reached out to me, it was
It
a
was
little
probably not
unusual.
very appropriate.
No, I'll be fair. There were very few really inappropriate messages. Most of
Mhm.
them were gentlemen like that were very respectful.
Mhm.
But most of the women that reached out to me, I can say the overwhelming majority, I want to say like 90, 95%. I didn't get a lot of hate mail. I did get some,
Uh,
but whatever.
right.
But most of it was something along the lines of, oh my God, Lynette, I feel your pain. Me too. I've been through that. I feel the same way. Or my daughter's going through something like this, or my mom has been through like something like this. And their pickers are broken. And so I started, recognizing pretty quickly that I'm not alone.
Mm.
And a lot of other people feel the way I feel. And so it got me kind of curious, what's feeding all of this stuff? Do we have other things in common?
Yeah.
And several friendships have emerged. Casual friendships. Like I'm not like traveling to see people or anything, but
Right.
I text and keep in touch with several folks that reached out to me after the show and made some good friends that way, which is really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And so like tell us a little bit more about you have a famous friend Lil Wayne. Like I when I first I was doing some research on, you and the show prior, and I was noticing a bunch of stuff about him. And so it's just like, what was it? Did you think that was like legit when it first happened?
Again, I was like, okay, whatever, you know. And when I got the message on Instagram, I didn't know who it was. Like his handle, I don't even know how to say it. Is it
Yeah,
Tunchi?
I think
Like
I think it's
little
like
Tunchi?
Tunchi.
Yeah, I had no idea who that was. I saw the check mark and I thought, oh, well, maybe this is somebody I should know
Hmm.
because they're verified,
Right.
or maybe it's somebody who really thinks highly of themselves. So it struck my curiosity, and he was so kind and sweet. So I was like, let me check out who is this person, and I pull it up, and then the first thing I saw was the face, and I was like. And then I saw like 18, 19 million followers, and I was like, oh my God, who is this? And I was like, that's Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Like I knew of him,
Hmm.
obviously, just because he's so famous, but I know nothing about his music. I couldn't even have told you a song he sang. I had no idea what his records were about or the name of any of his
Yeah.
albums.
Hmm.
I don't listen to hip hop. I'm just like your average, white girl that lives in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sheltered from a lot of life, right? So I didn't really have a lot to contribute to the conversation initially, but I responded and I thanked him for the kind words. And then I said, look, I know this really isn't Lil Wayne. This is probably his media manager, his social media manager. I figured it was like some 25-year-old, right?
Right.
And he was like, no, it's really me. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then he sent me his number. He's like, call me, I'll prove it. And the next day I called the number, I got voicemail, and I texted the number and said, see, I told you. I was like, quit playing.
Yeah.
And I called Barbie and I was like, yeah, Barbie, it's not really him. And then as I was talking to Barbie on the phone, I got a FaceTime request from that number. And sure, I said, oh my God, Barbie, they're calling me. And she goes, well, go see if it's him. I was like, okay. And he popped up.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, hi. And I'll be honest, like I was shocked just because I didn't really know what to say or how to carry a conversation. And I didn't fangirl. Like I'm not a fan, I guess
Mhm.
you could say. So I wasn't like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I've listened to your music since I was 5. I was just like, oh, you're a cool dude.
Yeah.
And so we FaceTimed for a few minutes. He had other things going on. So he was like, I'll get with you later. But he's like, I just wanted you to see that it was really me. And I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'll stop calling you a liar now.
Yeah, you're like, thanks for that. So since then,
Mhm,
I know you've been like to a few of his concerts and stuff like that. You've been able to
mhm,
hang out in person. So that's really awesome, that you were able to do that with
mhm.
with a person of such I guess importance. I don't know, to some people. He has his fans. So
Right, right.
but so like okay, so going back to MILF Manor, now that you have like finished it's kind of all said and done, right? So like what has life kind of been like since the season ended for you?
Well, immediately following the taping, because we taped in September of 23.
Mm.
So immediately following that, I mean, there was some like emotional fallout for me, and it took me a little bit just to kind of reacclimate myself to life and being back in a normal setting again. It was emotional because I didn't leave under the best of circumstances, and after I left, I really felt bad because I felt like I let the producers down.
Mm.
I felt like I kind of had done them dirty by leaving early. I felt bad about that. But in retrospect, it was the right decision and it was the right thing for me to do. I just felt a little selfish because, sometimes it's not always about you. There's like a bigger picture to consider. And I was not considering a bigger picture that evening. I was considering, what was in my best interest. And
Yeah.
to the producers' credit, they were all very supportive and they were like, Lynette, don't worry about it. You were done. Like Peter Geist was like, I apologized to him personally. And he said, Lynette, you were done. You'd had enough. He's like,
Yeah.
I totally understand. So he was incredibly kind and supportive, which I thought was very big of him.
Hmm.
And then life just got back to normal. I went back, I took a week off, additional week off, went back to work and got ready for my, daughter's senior year of high school
Yeah.
and all the celebrations and preparing her for college. So,
Yeah. And that's really good to know that, like how you said that you were very you felt very very bad when you had to leave the show early. And but yeah, what I was saying was that how you mentioned that you had to leave abruptly in the middle of the show. You know, you see that kind of stuff on like shows like Bachelor and Bachelorette. I know I've seen it. And so, you know, you have the people that wonder like, was that staged? Were they really supposed to leave? But
Mm.
people don't understand like that there are in some cases, you know, maybe not every case, but in your case specifically, like, you know, you had just personally had enough, and, you know, that it was really good that the production was like open and, you know, was okay with you doing that. So that was
Mhm.
really, really good. Um, would you ever like do a show like that again?
Um, Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've already done it, right? And if there was something different, or perhaps a different scenario, or a different, you know, premise of the show, I would certainly consider it for sure. I mean, it was, in retrospect, now that I've kind of had time to heal
Yeah.
and look back on it, I mean, it still was a very positive experience for me.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it. I rarely regret the things I do. Now, there are some things I've done in life that are really bad that I regret, but um, I see it as an opportunity to learn. Even if I screw something up, I come away with a lesson at a bare minimum. So,
Yeah.
I don't regret it, and it's a unique opportunity because how many people have the chance to do something like that, especially somebody like me. So yeah, I would do it again. I would do something a little different, perhaps, not in the same vein.
Right. So that would be, yeah, I was curious. That would be my next question is like, because now that you've been behind, like in front of the camera, is that like something that you would enjoy doing in the future, regardless, yeah, of like you said, of what it would be about?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, when we talk about like goals or what I would really enjoy, I mean, I don't enjoy being in front of the camera, even though I am very dramatic and there is an element of performance to my personality. But I see that in maybe a different way, maybe a different path for me, not in the context of reality TV, but I've been doing a lot of podcasts
Yeah.
and trying to get some of my messages out, in addition to, talking about the shows and stuff and all the behind the scenes and some of the tea. It's really kind of led me to this, what I'm calling a calling,
Hmm.
to talk about, why I reacted that way, why I am the way I am, and the fact that people relate to that. And I feel like I have a story that people might be interested in hearing
Hmm.
and hopefully gain some inspiration
Yeah.
or some hope from.
Yes, because I know, you know, you are very big on mental health and recovery, and you know, I know you are, you know, congratulations, you're sober and you have been for a while now. And so tell us a little bit about how that's impacted your life. I don't.
Yeah, I do want to clarify in case people have seen me drinking. Alcohol was not my drug of choice. Fortunately, I didn't struggle with respect to alcohol consumption. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been an alcohol abuser, definitely was in college, but my drug of choice was cocaine. So I've been cocaine free. It'll be 1,000 days on July 18th. So that is very exciting for me. In some ways, it's exciting, and in other ways, it's like, well, duh. Of course, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
So it sometimes, it's kind of a back and forth. I beat myself up a little bit. But yeah, I think that's important. And I think it's important to get the message out that not all addicts are bad people. And not all addicts are poor, dumb, uneducated, or, make horrible decisions in their life. I've made a lot of good decisions. I've made a lot of bad decisions. And I think some of the judgment there really is unfair because really what I've come to learn is not everyone that has trauma becomes an addict, but
Mhm.
every addict has trauma. These are people that deserve our compassion and understanding and resources. They don't deserve our judgment or to be criminalized. And if I can help get a positive voice, because people would look at me and maybe not associate me with the word addiction, and yet I can come forward and say, yeah, I've struggled, and this is why. Because I think once people have an understanding, they have the opportunity to express compassion and and be a little kinder about it.
Yes, for sure. Like you said, like a lot of people just tend to judge before they really know
Absolutely.
the full story. And yeah, that's really good that you're trying to get that point across and you're trying to spread that message because yeah, a lot of people don't know that and they really should.
And it's unfair, it's stigmatized. There are such stereotypes about it, and it's really unfortunate because some of the most creative, intelligent, kind, fascinating people I've met in my life are either addicts or recovering addicts.
Mm.
And it's, I just hate that for them, that you kind of get stuck with this label and it follows you around. But it's not that I'm proudly wearing the label of addict or addict in recovery,
Mhm.
but what I am proudly stating is that recovery is an option. It's an option for everyone. It can happen. It does happen. And, we need to really get behind those folks that are struggling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You never know what somebody's going through,
No,
so
you
that's
don't.
yeah. Um
Hmm.
So, with your time being on the show, I'm curious, what was your like family and friends reactions to seeing you on the show? Like, what did they, were they like very like, that's my mom or that's, etc. How was that?
Yeah, my children, so I have a son and a daughter, right? They're 10, 9.5, 10 years apart. And my son was sufficiently ambivalent and uninterested.
Mm.
So if he did watch it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my daughter, I think like 6 months later, her and her friend were watching some of the episodes. So they weren't really like gung ho at viewing parties or anything.
Right.
Because I think there was probably an element of embarrassment, and and that's something that I talked to them about. Obviously I didn't know it was MILF Manor, but going on a reality show, dating show, I did speak to both of them about it. And again, my son was like, yeah, do whatever, I don't care. And my daughter was very supportive, because at one point I was going to back out and she was like, mom, she's like, do it, this is kind of cool. So
Yeah.
and she's so strong and confident that, like, if anyone tried to tease her, like, your mom's on MILF Manor, she'd be like, okay, which boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she was insulated from a lot of that because she doesn't participate in the bullshit drama parts of it. So I was less concerned about her. Now, my father, he just kind of took the attitude of, what kind of mess are you in now? Like,
Uh,
what have you done now? So nothing surprises him anymore.
yeah.
Um, my sister, if she had concerns, she didn't express them. She was very supportive. My middle sister, Sharon.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I didn't really give people an opportunity to like give me their blessing. I just more or less kind of did it.
Right. Which is what
Um,
you probably, yes, that's a good thing. That's a good way to do it at first
yeah.
and then hear what everybody has to say.
Right, right. But for the most part, everybody was supportive. And, friends would do watch parties and, try to hype me up. And,
Mhm.
I really just wanted to be at home watching it, because you don't know what's going to make the cut. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to be portrayed, or like what storylines are going to develop. You know what I mean? Like, you have an idea of what happened, but you don't know if all of it's going to be shown, because obviously all of it can't be. So
Right.
I was really curious to see it, and the folks that did post production, I think, did a tremendous job. It was very well done. Very well
Yeah.
done.
And like you said, not everything makes the cut. So was there anything that you can think of or remember that like was really funny or just really memorable that didn't make it that everybody didn't get to see?
Um yeah, I mean, there were some dramatic like confrontations that didn't make the cut. And I'm okay with that,
Hmm.
right? Because, we're not always at our best. And the confrontations that were shown, I think, were relevant. So I get that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of funny stuff happening all the time. I mean, to be honest, everybody was cracking each other up. It was a fun group. Sure, there was tension with some of the women, but a lot of times we just kind of stayed away from each other, or, focused on other things. It wasn't constant strife. I mean, there were certainly moments where it exploded and boiled over,
Right.
but a lot of time was spent in the kitchen, talking, cooking, cleaning. I think Darren and I were like on kitchen duty most of the time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we didn't have like maids or anything. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah.
made your own bed, you cleaned up, and
Yeah.
I would stay up late at night to get the kitchen done. sometimes to see what the people who were on dates were coming back and saying.
Oh yeah.
I wanted the scoop. And then other parts of me is because I'm so compulsive and I
Yeah.
wanted the kitchen to be clean in the morning.
Oh gosh.
But
Yes. Yeah.
some of that mundane stuff didn't make it.
Oh.
But it was kind of, fun to see what happened after I left. Because I didn't get any tea or any scoop about what happened when I wasn't there. I did not know. People were pretty much hush hush about it, so that was interesting.
That's right. Yeah, because you got to kind of see it all play out like when everybody else did.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because that's funny because I was just thinking when you were like you meet the because you didn't meet any of the other cast members until you arrived, right? So you meet these people.
With, whoa, the exception of one, because
Oh.
Christina and I were friends at the time. I'm the one that sent her to the casting director and she got cast. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's actually fun too, going with somebody that you know, like so you're not like completely alone, you know?
True, because she didn't know if because they were going back and forth. They were toggling back and forth with me up until like 36 hours before I had to be in Toronto. So she didn't know. She knew there was a possibility I was coming, but she didn't know for sure if I was coming. Obviously, I knew she was coming,
Hmm.
because once you get up there to the hotel, they take everything: your phone, your laptop, your
Yeah.
passport, your wallet, and everything. So she had no clue. So she didn't know I had made the show until I walked in when they were filming my entrance. And she
Oh.
didn't. The funny thing is, she told me she didn't recognize me. She was like, "I didn't know who you were."
Like you were like because you were in glam, right? For the photo shoot and
And
stuff.
I don't normally look like that.
Wow, you became like unrecognizable. That's so funny. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
those
it was nice to have a familiar face, I'll be honest, because
yeah.
it kind of got a little dicey there. But she and I are not terribly close. Well, we're not friends at all anymore, to
Oh,
be completely frank.
okay.
Um, yeah, my journey just doesn't include her.
Right.
And that's okay. Sometimes, people go in just different directions. I wish her the best. I wish her well.
Yeah.
I've run into her a couple times out in Raleigh and I wasn't well received, but I just kind of laugh and smile and just keep
Aw.
it moving.
That's all you can do. You gotta,
Exactly.
you're focusing on yourself, and that's what's most important. So,
Absolutely. Thank
wow.
you.
Okay, so now is you're if you're on social media, where can
Mhm.
everybody find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty active, or I try to be active anyway. But my handle is Lannette.West, Lannette.West. So you can find me there. And, I like to hear from folks. So if you have anything to say, please reach out via DM.
Yes. Yes, please do. Lynette, this is a really great conversation. Was really happy to have you on the show. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything we didn't speak about?
No, and I just want to say thank you for having me. It's always a privilege to be able to, come and talk about things. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes, you're welcome. And yeah, I hope that it starts to do you like the weather over there in like what are you like a hot or cold weather type of person?
Yeah, I grew up in the mountains, but I prefer hot.
Okay,
It can
well, I
get
hope
too cold.
yeah, see, so hopefully it starts getting hot over there for you all and yeah. Okay, Lynette, have a good night.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.